What's up, North County? I'm your host, Randy Doty, and today we have a special guest. We're going to learn all about Honor Flight Central Coast. We're going to have Bear McGill on show with us to tell us all about the Honor Flight Central Coast, along with Vino for Vets program that they are getting ready for Memorial Day weekend. So right before this whole event started, Vino for Vets has been a program to help fund honor flights of the Central Coast, and Bear's son actually kind of started this movement, and now we're going to bring Bear on and tell us all about it. Welcome, Bear.
Well, thanks for having me, and I just love talking about honor flight and our veterans. I can tell you, we've been doing this for 10 years now. We've taken over 500 veterans on their tour of honor, taking them back to Washington, D.C. to see the memorials that are built in their honor, and for them to go back there and honor the heroes that were left behind so you and I can have the freedoms that we have. And so we just got back from our first charter flight, which was April 24th through the 26th. We had 74 veterans on that flight. It's our largest our largest flight yet, and it was a great time. A lot of healing for a lot of these veterans, especially the Vietnam veterans. We went to the Vietnam Wall, and to watch these guys at the Vietnam Wall was just heartbreaking, but it was healing too, because you would see these guys go along the wall and find a name that they served with, and you'd see the tears in their eyes as they're putting their hand on the name, and what an experience. And it just really makes you feel that we're making a difference for these veterans.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, Bear, tell me how the Honor Flight Central Coast got started.
Well, Honor Flight Central Coast got started by my son, Greg, actually. He was a Kern County fireman, and Kern County had just started a hub over there in 2012, and he went as a guardian for their hub. And then a month later, he went as a medical personnel for them. And after that, he came back and went to their board and asked them if he could come over here and start finding veterans to go on this honor flight, and they allowed him. And so he came over and started rounding up veterans on his own and flying out of San Luis under the Kern County Honor Flight Hub chapter. And we did, and that's how I got involved, is he asked me if I would be a guardian for a World War II veteran. And I'm like, oh, absolutely. Love to do it. And after I went on that trip, my veteran was a 3-time Purple Heart recipient.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it just hooked me. I'm like, I've got to get involved with this, because the stories that I heard on those trips were just amazing. I mean, you think about those World War II guys and women and how they lived through Depression, they lived through World War II, they came back from World War II and built this country. And I'm like, I got to get involved. I mean, look at what we have because of our veterans. And so we ended up going 3 trips under Kern County. And then, my son was getting a little frustrated because we were only getting 9 or 10 guys on a flight. And I'm like, hey, we need to start our own hub. And so he rounded up some Vietnam guys that worked with the Sheriff's Department, with the Sheriff's Foundation. And we sat down in a meeting one night, and here we are.
Got it started.
10 years later.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, 10 years later, we've taken over 500 guys from Ventura, Oxnard, Camarillo, Santa Barbara, through San Luis, even into Monterey County.
And we pretty much, I feel like we live in a military, not so much a military-based area, but I mean, we have a lot of veterans just in our small little area and community that we live in.
We have a lot of veterans in our area. I mean, like I said, we've taken over 500 from, most of them are from our county. But the veterans that we take from other counties, it's because there's no hubs in those areas. And so when we find a veteran from another county, it's like, absolutely, you want to go with us? We'll take you. You know, you served this country, you wrote a check to this country, and we want to cash that check for you. And we're willing to give you a free trip. And they are. Every veteran, it's free for them. It cost us $1,500 to take a veteran. But that's small compared to what they were willing to do for us. And that's what I tell these veterans when they start thanking me for taking them. I'm like, no, don't thank me. I said, I have to thank you. And I tell them, you didn't know me, but you were willing to sacrifice your life for me.
Oh yeah, it's the veterans of our country. The amount of appreciation, gratitude that we owe them is there's no cap on it.
No,
there's really not, and it's such a just a simple thank you for your service, to these men and women.
Absolutely.
When you see them at a restaurant or out at the park or something like that. And I mean, gosh, we talk about the Vietnam guys. When they came back, they didn't get any of that.
No, they were spit on. They were called baby killers and all that. And growing up and knowing that, I always wondered why. Why did we treat them guys like that? They were doing their job. They were ordered to go, and they did their job. And why did we treat them like that? And so now that we're into the Vietnam guys, it's really, I think it's really healing for those guys. And when I see a guy with a Vietnam hat on, I walk up to them and I thank them for serving our country. But then I also tell them welcome home, because they never got that.
Right.
And you'll see a big grin on a lot of them when you say welcome home, and they'll say thank you.
Absolutely. And again, it's just that feeling of, because a lot of us haven't, served and don't know what it's like to be on that other side.
Right. Right.
And especially nowadays, the military nowadays is much, much different than it was, Vietnam era, World War II era,
Yeah.
Korea era.
Yeah.
We haven't had those big, conflicts, like those, in years lately, And so when we see those men and women wearing those, USS, hats and Vietnam hats and World War II hats, I mean, you got to really appreciate that, because I was speaking to a gentleman at the Wall that Heals down in San Luis, and he was, they had the different items in the cases there to like some of the rations, some of the the stuff that they would get. And this gentleman was looking at this. He goes, that's is much nicer than what we got. And he's talking about his Christmas dinner, which was in like a wrap and a can. That was his probably processed turkey or ham or something like that. But it was just such a moving experience, to go down there and see this. And I can only imagine what you feel going there on this whole trip, a 3-day trip with all these veterans, and get to hear those stories for 3 days.
Yeah, and I got to tell you one story that happened on this last trip. And I didn't hear about it until Tuesday night. So we had a veteran at the Iwo Jima Memorial, and he's standing there with his son, and he's talking about what his job was in the service. He was in the Air Force, and he's talking that to his son and telling him that, my job was when troops would call in for air support, I would dispatch planes. And these two other Vietnam vets that were serving over there in Korea at the time, they were actually in a battle. They were trying to take a small town that had the, I think it was a North Korean flag flying over it, and or the North Vietnamese flag flying over it, and they were pinned down. And they called in for air support. Well, they started talking to this Air Force guy, and when they start talking pretty specific, because they remember. And come to find out, this Air Force guy, he's the one that dispatched the planes that day that saved the life of these other 2 Vietnam veterans that were serving there at that time. And they did not know each other. The 2 guys knew each other, but they didn't know this Air Force guy.
That's amazing.
And I'll tell you what, those 3 guys bonded like that the rest of the trip. And they're all from the Napomo, Santa Maria area.
Oh, no kidding.
Exactly. And I will guarantee you this, they're going to be lifelong buddies for the rest of the life.
Wow.
You know, I guarantee they will be getting together for breakfast or lunch or something. And because that's how tight-knit they are.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
Just to think that they live in the same town.
Yeah, the same area.
Didn't even know.
Didn't know any, because I mean these other 2 guys, I think they were infantry, you know, Marines, right? This guy's in Air Force. He's back here somewhere, you know, taking radio calls and dispatching the planes to go bomb to protect these guys.
My goodness.
Yeah,
That's so crazy.
yeah, and you hear stories like that on almost every trip. You'll get guys that had served but didn't know each other. You know, one of them was, I remember our World War II guys. We had an event and one of the World War II guys stands up. He starts talking about the ship that he was on and how they took a bomb, but the bomb didn't explode and they had to, you know, roll this bomb off the ship.
Oh my gosh.
And this other veteran that went on a separate trip goes, "Hey, I was on that ship."
Wow.
You know? And it's like, wow, amazing.
That really is. I mean, they're like, you know, it's such a big world comes down to a small, you know, niche in a small community.
Yeah.
You know, amongst these veterans, and you know, you see it a lot, and I'm sure you see it a lot, especially on the trips that you go. That you know, people kind of reconnect with their, you know, their platoon and their, you know, serving members on these trips.
Yeah.
You know, because it's not just so much the Central Coast, but there's all these different areas coming in to this event, correct?
Oh, there's 133 hubs nationwide.
Okay.
And on any given day, you could be there with, you know, 2, 3, 4 other hubs. So you have all these veterans going through these memorials, running into each other, and you watch them stop and talk. But I think what's more impressive is to see the people and the kids walk up to these veterans and shake their hands, and just the emotions that come out of it is just like way healing.
So Bear, do you go to each, because obviously not all one serves, you know, all the branches, but so do you do different things for like Navy, Air Force, Marine veterans? Do you go to different places?
Well, what we do on the trip is we try to hit all the main memorials there. Typically our first stop will be at like Arlington Cemetery. We go to the changing of the guard of the Tomb of the Unknowns. And then from there we'll go over to Iwo Jima, which everybody says is the Marine Memorial, because you had the Marines that basically took Iwo Jima from the Japanese. Mm-hmm. And then from there we'll stop at the Women's Memorial. And then we'll head over to the mall where you have the Vietnam, Korean, and Lincoln memorials. And so we'll tour those. And then we will go to the World War II memorial. And those are usually all the first day. And, and so we don't specifically pick out each branch, because when you think about it, the Army is so large that they really don't have their own memorial. They've got separate memorials around. So like you'll have the Screaming Eagles. Okay, that was actually Army. It was Army Air Corps before things got turned into the Air Force. You know.
Wow.
And then you have the guys that went out and built the runways and stuff. You know, those were all Army guys. And so they don't have their own memorial, but they all can go see, you know, these memorials that were built that these guys fought for.
Wow. How many flights do you guys take a year?
Well, we were trying to do 3 to 4 a year with commercial airlines, and it just got to be a real hassle because we were flying out of San Louis under American Airlines, and then we started having to go through Dallas, and Dallas airport is just a nightmare for us. And so I talked to Honor Flight Kern County, and I knew they were doing charters. So I'm like, hey, we have the money right now. Let's go ahead and start doing charters. So we talked to Kern County to figure out how they were doing it. And so now we took our first charter April 24th. And so now we're looking to do 2 flights a year, do charters. And
so, which means that's just a direct flight.
a direct flight,
Yeah.
Into BWI International and then straight home. There's no changing planes, trying to get veterans from,
Right.
gate C to gate A.
Right.
It's perfect. And so we're going to try and do 2 a year. Like I said, it cost us, over $120,000 just for the veterans. Now, every Guardian that goes on this trip, they pay their own way. And it costs them $1,500 for the whole trip. But that includes everything. The airfare, the hotels for 2 nights, the busing we use back there, all the food. So it covers the whole trip. And it's amazing what our community does, because we had several what we call community guardians go on this flight. And what a community guardian is you'll have a veteran that doesn't have a family member to go with them. And we require guardians. And so, these community guardians stepped up and said, I don't know this veteran, but I want to be his guardian or her guardian. And they're willing to pay the $1,500 to go on this flight and to make sure that this veteran gets to see everything they need to see.
And speaking of that, that was kind of like your first experience with, as you were a guardian.
Yeah.
And you got to chaperone a gentleman with 3 Purple Hearts?
3 Purple Hearts.
Wow.
And when we're at the World War II Memorial, I just kept my mouth shut and just listened to him, and he's, because at the World War II Memorial, you have the Pacific side and then you have the Eastern side. And he served on the Eastern, which was, start off in Africa, Italy, on into Germany. And he's going through the different battles that are there and telling me where he had served during those battles. It's like, wow.
That is amazing.
It was amazing. That was life history for me.
Golly. So with Honor Flight is nationwide, correct?
Correct.
So what is the biggest hub, you think?
That's hard to say because there's so many hubs out there now that, go with large groups. Chicago, actually, I've seen several of their videos and they're always taking really large groups. Kansas Honor Flight. I know Mike from Kansas, and every trip they go, they're usually a 4-bus trip.
Wow. So when you guys take 75, which was your last, in April, 75 people, is that considered large, or is
that's considered large
for you guys, or just overall?
Overall.
Okay.
Because you're talking 3 buses, 150 people. Mm-hmm. And normally our other trips would be 50, 53. And so that's 1 bus. But now you got 3 buses going, right? And you got to keep all 3 buses together when you're going through that DC traffic. And in our next trip in October 2nd, we're going to try to take 100 veterans. That's going to require 4 buses. That's going to require 95 rooms.
Wow. And when you get volunteers to chaperone, I mean, anybody can sign up for. How do they
Well,
do that?
there is a process. You know, they can go to our website and they can click on apply and then click on our Guardian application. But it specifies in there what's required of a Guardian. I mean, you got to be in good shape. If the veteran you go with is in a wheelchair, you've got to be able to push him all day on Tuesday. And I'll tell you, that first day, we've figured it out. It's almost 7 miles of walking. And so our Guardians need to be in good shape with no medical issues. Because the veterans, a lot of our veterans do have some type of medical issue. And so we can't be worrying about the veteran and their Guardian.
Right.
You know, so yeah, that's the biggest thing with the Guardians is you got to be in pretty good shape, no medical issues, and you have to be able to walk 7 miles and make sure that this veteran gets to see and do everything he needs to do or she needs to do.
And you guys are obviously accepting that right now for the October
Absolutely.
trip.
Absolutely.
So I mean, typically with Guardians versus the veterans that are going, I mean, what's the ratio there to where there's quite a few of the Guardians because the veterans don't have anybody to go with them, or?
Well, especially when you get into the larger group, you start finding more veterans don't have a family member to go with them, or they can't afford it, right? And so that's where the community Guardians come in. And I have several community Guardians that have been on, 2, 3 trips, 4 trips. They're willing to pay that money to make sure these veterans have somebody with them. Now that we're getting into the Vietnam guys, you're finding a lot of younger, in good health veterans. And so with those guys, we may pair them 2 to 1 or 3 to 1. Depending on the Guardian. If the Guardian's been on several trips, we might give that Guardian 3 veterans that are in great shape. That really, their job at that point is basically to make sure that those veterans get back to the bus on time.
Right.
And so.
I always feel like, I mean, our veterans, they're very humble, and they're very appreciative of what they have. And I can almost see like some of them just say, no, give that to somebody else. Let somebody else go in my place. We've
had that.
Really?
We've had a lot of veterans. And I talk to them all the time. And they're like, oh, there's other guys out there. And I go, yes, there are other guys out there. I said, I can't take you unless you get yourself on my list. And then I can call you when it's your turn. And if you decide you don't want to go yet, then you just tell me you don't want to go at this time, and we've had veterans go, well, I didn't really do much. I never served, in Vietnam or Korea or in World War II, but you're serving at the time, which makes you that type of veteran. And what I tell them is that it takes 20 non-combat veterans to support one combat veteran. You all had something to do with these conflicts, whether you were in them or you're serving still over here in the States, and you all had a part of it.
Yeah, everybody's part of a team.
Yeah, and you deserve to be on these trips.
So Bear, tell me about fundraising event coming up for you guys.
So we are a 501c3 organization. We're all volunteers. Every person on our board, we're volunteers. None of us get paid to do this. We do this because of our veterans, because of what we have. And so, like I said, it costs us $1,500 to take a veteran. And we've been fortunate that this community, they've stepped up. And we've been able to have the money to go when we need to go. We file for grants so we get grants and everything. But we do have coming up on Memorial Day weekend, we have a big event coming up called Vino for Vets. And what that is is that we've contacted wineries throughout the county to partner with us over that weekend, and so this will be a pretty good fundraiser for us. I'm not quite sure. In the past, I think we've brought in like $10,000 or $15,000.
Oh, nice.
And that really helps. And so,
I mean, gosh, that pays for 10 veterans to go.
Absolutely. And so we started this. My son started Vino for Vets several years ago. I think it was about 5 or 6 years ago. He started Vino for Vets, and then COVID hit, and he came to me and says, "Hey, we're not going to do Vino for Vets this year. With COVID, everybody being shut down, we don't want to go out and ask for money that they're not getting." I'm like, "Hey, I agree with you." I said, "Why do we want to, go out and ask somebody for money that's not bringing in money?" Mm-hmm. And so we let Vino for Vets go for a couple years, and then we decided, okay, we're going to try this. As Honor Flight, we're going to support the wineries that supported us for Vino for Vets in the past. And we went out to these wineries and we talked to them, said, "Hey, this is what we'd like to do as a fundraiser. We want to support you. We want to buy wine from you to put wine baskets together, and then we're going to do a raffle." And we had several wineries go, "You know what? We'll give you the wine at our cost." Or we had some say, "You know what? I'm going to donate the wine to you guys." And we put these baskets together, and we're honoring the wineries that supported us. And then this year came around, and COVID's kind of gone by the wayside now, and you see a lot of people out wine tasting, and so we thought, let's see if we can resurrect the Vino for Vets event. And so we started contacting wineries about a month and a half ago, and we've gotten, I think, we've got a few that just came on board. So actually, I think we have 27, 28 wineries going to participate on on Vino for Vets weekend, Memorial Day weekend.
Right, and I think we popped that up on the screen. Some of the wineries that are participating.
Yeah.
So and that's really important. For you're going to go out to these wineries. Whalebone, Osa Libre, Tola. Some of these wineries, and they're supporting you guys. They're going to go wine tasting anyways.
Yeah.
So they may as well go to these wineries that's supporting you guys.
Yeah. Pick a winery over that weekend, or several wineries. Go support them because they're supporting us.
Yeah.
And every winery, we don't go out to these wineries and say, "We want this much money." We ask the wineries, "What can you do? What would you like to do?" And so we let the wineries choose what they want to do for us. We have wineries that are giving us, back 10% of their sales for the weekend. We have other wineries that are giving us their tasting fees. We have wineries out there that said, "Hey, bring us some of your donation jars." And so, we're appreciative of every dime we get. I mean, every dollar we get goes back to the veterans, and
we got a couple weeks left before this event, so we can still take on some wineries.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. If there's wineries out there that want to participate, unfortunately, we can't get you on our poster.
Right.
But, hopefully we can, get you on our Facebook page, because we're going to try and get each winery one day and try and promote that winery on our Facebook page that they're participating.
Yeah, well, I mean, it'd be nice if we're sitting at, 30 wineries, if we could somehow bump that up to 50
that would
by
be
Memorial
awesome.
Day weekend.
Yeah,
that's a pretty good challenge.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, we've got 350 plus wineries in the North County tasting. I mean, 50 is nothing. I mean, that's only 20 more. That's what, a 1%, or something.
Yeah.
So I think the North County can do it. So.
I think we can. I mean, it's. And here's the thing: we decided to resurrect this late, and so next year we're going to start earlier, and we're going to get out and start talking to the wineries, and hopefully we can, pull them all in for the weekend event. Even if they go, hey, you know what, we'll give you 10% of our wine sales for Memorial Day, Monday, or whatever day Memorial Day falls on next year. Great.
Everything helps.
Everything helps. I mean, and what we tell people, I've had people say, hey, I can't afford much. I can afford $10. And I go, you know what? That $10 just bought lunch for a veteran.
Right.
Oh, sure. And that's how we look at it. Every little bit helps.
You take 1 million people and everybody gives you $1. Well, guess what?
Yeah. I mean, we buy challenge coins that we give the veterans, right? And I think those coins cost us $5. Well, you know what? That $10 you just gave me, that just bought 2 coins for these veterans.
And Bear, what do they do with those challenge coins?
Well, with the challenge coins, a lot of them just like to keep them at their house. It's a memento.
Keepsake?
A keepsake, But challenge coins are something that started with the military. And it was a thing where you were in a bar, and if you thought you had a challenge coin that was like top of the line, and you slammed it down on the bar, and then all of a sudden you get somebody that outranks you, that has a better coin, he slams it down. Well, guess what? That first guy, he's buying rounds for everybody.
That's pretty cool, and I think a lot of the law enforcement branches use that too.
Yes, a lot of law enforcement now. A lot of agencies are getting their own challenge coins. Like the sheriff's department. I know the SED guys. They probably have their own challenge coin. Probably the K9 guys, they have their own challenge coin now because they're a separate unit. And so they want something that says, this is us.
But what a cool, history that kind of moves forward into these other branches and other organizations that started with our military, our veterans, that, are now hopefully being taken care of and going back, and you guys are doing a great job with them. So, we thank you for that, because it's really moving to see, the veterans be taken care of as much as they need to be.
Yeah. Well, I mean, especially with our older veterans, you talk to them and you ask them when the conflicts were over, how did you get home? What did you do? And you talk to a lot of them, and they'll go, well, I got off the transport ship, and there was no hoopla, because the conflicts were over. All the hoorays were done by the time these guys got home. And they'll tell you, they got off the transport ship, and they, took a bus, a train, hitchhiked, and they went home. And they went back to school, or they went back to work. And they never got that thank you. And that's what Honor Flight does, is to get these guys out there, get them back there, get the thank yous that they really deserve. And it's amazing to see it. It really is. It's amazing to be there with everybody coming up and just wanting to shake these guys' hands, get their pictures with them, Yeah.
Awesome. So, Bear, one last time, tell us how somebody gets involved. Where do they go for more information about Honor Flight?
Well, for more information, you can go to our webpage, which is honorflightccc.org. You can click on there, and there's different tabs that you can click on. There's, I want to volunteer, I want to be a guardian, and you just go online and fill that information out, and it gets to us, and we end up contacting you. And, with this charter flights now, we're really looking for more and more volunteers to try and help us make it a little easier on the 10 or 12 board members we have to put these flights together.
Well, like I said, you guys can count on What's Up North County to, help bring your message to the air, anytime and every time that you need.
Well, we really appreciate What's Up North County. And North County, I know you guys out there, and we appreciate you, and we hope that you can come out to one of our welcome homes in October October 4th is when we'll be coming home. If you can get down to Santa Maria Airport and just welcome these veterans home, that would be wonderful. Awesome. We had over 1,000 people last time. Hey, let's bump that up. Let's go 1,500.
Absolutely. The challenge is out there.
Challenge is out there.
Bear, thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Really appreciate your service that you're doing, for these men and women. So,
well, like I tell them, don't thank me. I have to thank our veterans because of what they've done for us, and what I'm doing is about that big compared to what they were willing to sacrifice. That's the way I look at it. I'm the guy that I'm serving those who've served.
Absolutely. Thank you again.
Well, thank you.
Well, there you have it, guys. Honor Flight Central Coast, guys. We got Vino for Veterans coming up. Guys, hey, we're at 30 right now. We can push this up to 50. Easy. Push this out. Get your buddies out there that have your wineries, tasting rooms. Let's get involved and let's help them get to the goals that they need to get to, guys. But check out Honor Flight Central Coast for more information, guys, because they are really doing something cool here. But guys, we can't do this without our sponsors. We'd like to thank Escalar Wines, Wine Travelers Hideaway, Rancho Sestero Meat Cutting, Visit Atascadero, 805 Customs, Story Termite and Pest Control, El Red Rooster, Pacific 805 Spas, Airflow Filter Services, Kennedy Club Fitness, Amy and Jamie's Place, Paso Robles Furniture, and 5-Star Rain Gutters, guys. Thanks again. Get out there and support those veterans.
3, 2, 1.
Here we go! Veux-tu danser avec moi?
Hi, welcome to Kennedy Club Fitness, where we have something for everyone. We have weights, cardio, group exercise classes, racquetball, basketball, swimming, and pickleball coming soon. Here at Kennedy, we're committed to health, wellness, and community. Stop by any of our 4 locations: Paso Robles, Atascadero, San Luis Obispo, and Arroyo Grande, or check out our website at kennedyclubs.com.
We don't just serve it up, we roast it, distill it, brew it, craft it, crank it, bake it, make it, perfect it, cure it, paint it, live it, breathe it, and then we serve it up, all in a Tascadero.
Hi, this is Dave Story, small game hunter with Story Termite and Pest. We're a full-service termite and pest control company. From rodents to termites, we can take care of all your pest control needs. Call today, we can tailor a pest control program that will meet your needs and budget. Contact us at 805-460-0650 or at storytermite.com. Remember, we don't have customers, we have friends.